So I briefly mentioned previously how you could use data annotations in order to do database validation in .NET Core. However, ideally you shouldn't. So I'm going to show you the proper way in order to validate against the lookup table using .NET Core. So let's go to our code and create a new model called categories. What we're going to do is make it so that every single note has a category. Our category is going to have two attributes. The first one's going to be ID, and the second one is going to be a string of type name. And it will be required. So based on our category, we're going to create another controller using the auto-generate feature of Visual Studios with the MVC actions and views for create, read, update, and delete, and listing it and add it. The model class will be category, the data context class application DB context, and we'll add it. So Visual Studios is generating the code right now. We'll give it a couple of seconds more. Okay, so it is generated. We have our views and everything else. So now, in our main view, our home, our actual layout view will have a link to categories so that we can add it. At the moment, we won't add any authentication to it or protection. It's going to be an open area, and then we'll play it in order to see how this has, the new category has changed for us. So now we have categories, and we're going to add a couple of sample categories. Yep, it's categories, IES, not category. So note how Visual Studios automatically changed category with the Y to IES in the controller. So you have to keep that in mind, that some of the actual names are changed to meet the actual word rather than adding an S simply. So now we click on category and we'll be taken to our index page. And we have an error because we added the category model but we didn't update the database. So let's update the database. So add migration category and update database. And our changes will be applied. And now we'll add a few categories. Create a new category and we will call it default. Create. So we have a default category. Now we're going to make the following modification to our notes class, our notes model. We're going to make it so that every single note requires a category. So category category. Okay. And we will go to our notes. And on create notes, we're going to do something special. We're going to make it so that we check if model state is valid first, prior to adding the notes and saving it. And if it is, we're going to check the context dot category dot name dot where c of c dot name is equal to n note dot category dot name. And we'll get the first or default. And we'll assign that to a variable. And then we'll check it. If category is not equal to null, we will break out of the if statement. Otherwise, actually, we'll check if it's equal to null. What we'll do is we're going to add an error, because what we want is for our model to always have a category that is in our database. So if we're going to add to our model state an error by using ModelState.add model error, and to the category field we'll say category is not allowed, and we're going to return view of note. What this will do will be to return us to our notes page with the same information populated in the notes, but it's going to display this error. Category is not allowed. So we need the category to be that is selected to be default. Actually, what I'm going to do is in note, I'm going to change it to a string category. That way we can actually simply look up in our notes controller, the note.category is equal to, it has a valid corresponding category. So this way we've added validation against data in a separate table in our database so that our application will check against it. So this is how you can add in database validation. So now let's go to our create view for categories and add a new form group for category, the category field, category, and note how this will automatically map to the category field. Category does not contain a definition for category. It's because we're in the wrong view. What we want is the note view, not the actual category view. So let's go to our category view, then we'll add category, and boom. So we've added our new category field to our notes create controller. Now if we go to notes, in our create of a new note, we have a model state to check whether the form inputs match the data annotations we put on the different fields, and if they do, now it's checking the category field for note and making sure that there is a corresponding value or category to the name we entered in the notes category field that exists, and if there is not, we're adding an error and returning an error. So let's see how that would work. So let's start up our IIS Express to start up our application with the new changes we made. We'll create a new note. But if you recall, in order to create a new note, we need to be logged in. So let's register a new user. And our user is going to be 2000. And we'll call it test new. New password. So I created a new user. I have to select a proper year. 1000. Make sure that they're the proper age. And I created them. Log in. Go to notes, and we have an issue. It's saying invalid column name category because we didn't update the database when we added the category to the category field to our notes. So we'll add a notes category migration, then update database. And it updated it. So now we'll go to our notes, create a new note, we'll enter in anything, and as you would assume, because we didn't have a proper category added that exists in our database. So let's look at our database table that we're checking against because of the new code we added. So I've logged in to my SQL Server Object Explorer, get from scratch database. So we're checking against the following table, the category table. You were slow, not sure why. But regardless, since we added the category default as per here, so consequently, because we're putting in only D, this should throw an error. Our data annotation is asking for a string length of 10, so I'm going to correct that. Then I'm going to press create. As you can see, it says category is not allowed. So let's try connecting again. New query, select star from category, execute. As you can see, we only have one category default, so we can only enter in the category default here, and then now it will allow us to create our new note because the default category exists. And if we go to our notes list, as you can see, we have a course link and a test string And in our database, it shows us that we have a note with the category default now. So yeah, that's how you add database authentication. If you want to, I thought I would add that in case you ran across this scenario, because oftentimes you have to check against database input.